Okay. Hey, everyone. My name's Aman, and today I'm going to be talking about how PMs can get the most out of Cursor. So, a little bit about me. I actually have a background in machine learning and AI for the last few years. I actually started my career working on self driving car evaluations at a company called Cruise back in 2018, and then went over to Spotify to work on recommender systems in the machine learning platform, which is actually how I landed up at the company I'm at today, which is called Arize. Arize is an AI observability and evaluation platform for companies like Spotify, Uber, Reddit, Instacart, Duolingo, and many others that are building and deploying AI products in production. We help those companies basically figure out how their AI products are performing and go from development all the way through to production and then continuously iterate on those AI products once they launch. But today, what we're going to cover is my own personal workflow for using Cursor and talking about what Cursor is. It's a tool you've probably heard of and maybe even used already, and why it matters to AI PMs. We're going to be going deeper into how to use it for more than just vibe coding. And then we'll talk about how Cursor can make you a 10x more effective AI product manager in your day to day role as well. So let's hop in. So, first off, to set a little bit of context, I think this is something that we're all feeling. I think we realize that the PM role is changing, right? The expectations on us and our teams has really leveled up in this new world where AI seems to be permeating how we use the technology and build around it. It almost feels like these functions that used to be discrete are now overlapping more and more around product engineering and design, and including that sales and marketing as well. And what I want to kind of urge folks to think about is how to best level up using tools to kind of take the job function that would kind of be in part of the day to day of a PM role and incorporating components from the engineering teams or other teams to basically make you more effective at understanding how to go from an end to end product development process, starting all the way from writing your specs to coming to the team with prototypes, setting up your environment, doing testing, even helping out with code review and QA, and then lastly, documentation and actually shipping the product, and doing all of that within the same interface that you might be using for writing PRDs in the first place. So first off, what is Cursor when we jump into the product? So Cursor is a what's called an interactive development environment, which is really just it means it's a place for you to edit, write code, run code, see commands that help you run that code, and then actually see the files and directory structure of how that code is structured. And what that means really is it's a place for you to where your developers and your engineers may already be really familiar with the concept of the IDE because it's kind of how natively software is developed. But what's different now is you can kind of use this IDE environment to actually use an agent to actually interactively learn about your code base, edit code, write code, and do it all in a way that feels really natural. And so that's really what we're going to be kind of talking about is how to use this agent to level up your own sort of workflows when it comes to interacting with code and interacting with your engineering team. So these are sort of some of the high level components that we're going to be talking about when it comes to using Cursor. There's the structure of the directory, the editor, your chat history with the agent, and then that agent can sort of read and write back to your actual code that you might be editing. And then you have a terminal which can basically run commands. And so we're going to be kind of talking a little bit about how the agent can help out there as well. So a little bit to zoom out before we jump into actually using Cursor, why should PMs care about Cursor in the first place? Why am I up here talking about an IDE to a group of product managers? Well, I want folks to kind of think about when you're using ChatGPT or Claude or these sort of chatbot agents to kind of do parts of your workflow today as a PM. We know this to be true already, that context is really everything, right? What you type in, the retrieval and documents that you put into your chat interface, that's really what determines how good the output is going to be from your AI in the first place. And what's really powerful is that because Cursor sits on top of your code base, It knows everything about the product that you're building with your team already, not just snippets that you decide to copy paste in. And it's really intelligent about going in and finding the right snippets to use. It can go beyond prototyping. So you can actually sort of turn Cursor into a few different roles, like an AI tech lead or document writer or debugging partner. And there's some real world PM workflows that you can start incorporating today into Cursor, like brainstorming. Use this code base, create a PRD for an agent. We're going to talk about one of these workflows, understanding what's in the code base, how to go and improve it, and debugging with screenshots, like copy pasting from the UI and using these workflows to actually have the agent understand what to go and build. And this is just the starting point. So I think really I urge you to kind of use your imagination, think about what else you could do with these workflows once we start hopping in. Okay, with that, I'm going to actually go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to hop into using Cursor in real time. Okay, so kind of hopping into Cursor, what we see here is actually let's start on the fly. I'll open a brand new window here. And what you see when you first log into Cursor is really this type of interface. So once you've installed the application on your machine, you open it up and it's going to look familiar if you're used to using VS Code already. So it's going to be basically a way for you to pull down code, and there's a few different ways to get started. It says open a project, clone a repo. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and clone a repo, and we're going to clone it from GitHub. And so all you have to do is go to a repo that you want to use on GitHub. In my case, I have a project I've been using. It's this AI trip planner agent that I've built. And I can go ahead and just hit clone a repo here and copy paste the URL. And it's going to go in and actually decide where to drop that repo. I can go ahead and say ProductCon and select as the destination, and it'll actually open that in a new window. Now, I've got this up already on another screen, and this is the same repo I just sort of downloaded, and I have a couple more components that I wanted to add to it. So if you're using anything with an AI agent or anything using an OpenAI or Anthropic, you're going to want this .env file, which has your keys stored in it. But before even getting into running the code, what I can do is basically ask Cursor here to say, hey, what you might associate Cursor with writing code, but another thing you can do is actually just ask questions about your code base. So we're actually going to start there. We're going to say, before we even start writing a line of code, I'm going to ask Cursor, what does this code base do? And this is one of those really powerful features that I think a lot of folks aren't totally positive how to use just yet, because they kind of associate Cursor with, oh, it's going to go and write code for me. It's going to help me vibe code. This is true, but you can also have Cursor explain functionality to you before you start doing anything in the first place. So for instance, this says based on the code base and the README, so it's actually going in and reading files here, and you can actually see the thought process. If you click down here, you'll see it's actually reading the application, reading the code, and telling me what's possible with this code base in the first place. It gives me an architecture overview. So it says the front end is React and TypeScript, and it provides a web UI, displays the generated trip itineraries, and then there's a backend using Fast API and LangGraph. It says, okay, let me look at the front end components, check the budget and experiences. Okay, and then it actually gives me the purpose of this, which is an intelligent travel planning application that takes preferences and actually creates a day-by-day itinerary. And it can kind of continue to provide more and more insights into what this code base really is. Beyond that, I can even ask, how do I run this code? So what's kind of cool here is I'm really just interacting with Cursor using chat. And it can do the heavy lifting of reading code, pulling out insights, and giving me the exact sort of insights that I need to run this code in the first place. So that really means I don't really need to know all of the details here to just get started, right? And you can imagine on your team, if you have a similar type of workflow where you can have access to the code base, you can just use Cursor to understand how does this code run? How does it work? And so when you go back to your engineering teams, you're going to be way more capable in terms of explaining and asking for what features are possible, what functionality to build once you've spec'd that out based on your product requirements in the first place. Okay, so it says create an env file. I went ahead and did that right before this to sort of save some time. And then I've got the dependencies here. So I'm going to go ahead and run this right now. And so let's go ahead and copy paste these commands and zoom out a little bit here. So we'll do this fresh just so that, even if it's running in the background, we can go ahead and produce this fresh. So I'm going to go ahead and cd backend. So I've got that already. And cd just means current directory. So this is helping you navigate your file structure that you already have in your code base. So I'm just copy pasting these commands. Oh, I need to go back up one more level. And that puts me in the right folder. And then I can do pip install our requirements. Okay, great. It says requirements already satisfied. Now let's go ahead and do the front end dependencies. So I might want to do that in a new window just to have that sort of available so I can run both independently. And then we're going to hit npm install and then run the application. So I'll go ahead and go back up one more level. So I'm in the same sort of AI trip planner agent and copy paste this command and hit start. And there we go. It looks like it actually just started the agent for me. And with that, I didn't even have to really learn how the code was used, what the dependencies and requirements were, just to get started, right? Like if you're actually developing production code, you're going to need to be able to get deeper into the weeds. But since we're sort of just using this to learn about a code base, there's really no harm we can do to just ask questions and sort of figure out how to run this thing ourselves. And again, I don't have to be technically proficient to just copy paste the commands into the terminal and actually run the code in the first place. So let's go ahead and in the meantime, we'll go ahead and test this out ourselves. So we're gonna go and say, let's go to Tokyo, and we want to go for 2 weeks. And I'll go ahead and put in some budgets as well of maybe $1,000. I'm definitely interested in food when I go to Tokyo and cultural experiences. I'm gonna hit plan my trip. And what this will do is, presumably, if this is working, it's actually going to go ahead and make that request for me to sort of run the agent in the background. And let's see what's working. So we can go back to the cursor window and see, okay, it looks like it's kicking off these agents. So this is the backend that's telling us what's going on. It might take a second because we're using ChatGPT and OpenAI here. So, okay, let's see. And there we go. We've got an actual end-to-end itinerary here based on what we just put in using that trip planner agent in the first place. So what's kind of cool here is once you have a starting point, what you can do is actually then use Cursor to completely change your application or edit parts about it using natural language as well. And this is sort of the vibe coding part of Cursor, but you can also use it to brainstorm. And I do want to call out which model you use is also really important, right? So you want to try to start with a capable model. If you can, go into max mode. And I highly recommend using the reasoning models, the ones with the little brain that sort of looks like a croissant, and use those as sort of your starting point when you're just getting started with Cursor. And what's kind of interesting is we've kind of tried the ask learn feature. Now let's try brainstorm. And so what I'm going to do is say, let's say instead of a trip planner agent, I want this to be a finance agent. So I could say develop a finance agent, PRD, that helps me plan for my future using the same code base. And why am I doing this? Because I already have a working sort of version of this code, and I can use natural language to prompt Cursor to generate thoughts and reasoning tokens that I can use sort of as like a PRD for it to reference for itself to go in and actually write code on the fly as well. So what's kind of interesting is, we're actually doing it. This is, if you've already used tools like Lovable, Bolt, this part might feel familiar where it's generating a plan before actually actioning on the plan. But you have a lot of control over this system because you're looking at the text and being able to actually edit the tokens coming out in the first time. So I can look at this PRD and actually make any edits to it, based on what my requirements are. If I want it to look a certain way, or drop in images and say, I want you to make it look like this, or change parts of the PRD as well and pull that out. But for the purposes of this demo, we're just going to go ahead and ask it to implement the agent that it just decided to build, using this PRD, just to see what it comes up with. So great, sounds good. Go ahead and implement an MVP of this. So this part might take a little while, but what is going to happen in the background is Cursor is actually going to go ahead and start taking a look at the changes and changing my code base to update based on that PRD. But another sort of aspect of using Cursor is you can actually ask it to implement observability and evaluations as well, which is really critical when you're building AI agents in the first place. And so I went ahead and asked Cursor further up to when I built the application to actually put in observability in the first place. And the reason I want that is so that I can then run evals using Cursor as well. So let me go ahead and kind of show that. It might be further load older messages here. And we've got what we have up here is actually using observability to take a look at the traces that are generated. And that just means like learning how the agent is working underneath the hood. See if I can find it. It's kind of moving around a little bit. Testing, troubleshooting. Okay. Yeah, and it says I have Arize here, which is the tool I'm going to quickly kind of show just to give a sense of what the observability of the agent looks like while it's actually changing and making updates to the trip planner that we just ran. So I just went ahead and actually ran this example here, right? Tokyo 2 weeks. And what's kind of cool is we can actually log all of that to a platform to understand how the agent is looking like and works. And this is what observability really looks like. So this is using Cursor to actually add in tracing and observability as well. So you can ask Cursor, hey, add observability, add evals to my agent system, and it will give you a view like this if you're using a product like Arize or Phoenix or sort of open source tracing tools. And what's kind of cool is that you can actually see the agent at the top level calling out to other sub agents like a budget agent, a local experiences agent, a research agent, and an itinerary, which then allows us to then replay parts of this agent in the platform as well. So I can, from an actual part of the agent like the LLM part, I can go ahead and pull this into a playground, prompt playground, and iterate on the agent using variables here as well. So I can add in duration, destination, travel style. And this is the one we just kind of replayed and the itinerary we got on the output. So this is really useful because what it means is that when you're building agents using Cursor, by simply asking it to add in observability, it allows you to get this type of visualization and iterate on variables and parts of your agent and run evals on that agent as well on the fly. And that's really powerful for when you're making changes and editing the agent. So it's just another workflow to think about that Cursor can help you do with a single request like add observability for Arize or for evaluations. And it will actually write the code to help you do that too. So pretty straightforward, and you get visualizations like that out of the box. So another thing I'm going to kind of show is just a part of Cursor that allows you to run what's called MCPs as well. And so I'm going to create a new chat window while that agent is actually producing all of this code. And I can actually hook up MCPs to Cursor too to kind of show, basically give it access to other APIs and servers to then take actions based on those MCPs. And MCPs, remember, are just sort of think of them as like APIs, servers, endpoints that I can use to get context from like Zapier or other products. And what's really cool is that in the case of observability, I can have MCP here, um, basically to help me set up my tracing in the first place. So all I have to do is install this package, and I'm going to use UV here. And then you go to settings and MCP. So I'm going to go to files. I think I go into cursor settings. Zoom out here a little bit. And I can basically just search it here, hit MCP tools. And what's cool is that I can hook up, these are the integrations part of Cursor. So this is how Cursor can get access to tools beyond just what it's built in with, right? And so Cursor can actually access the internet, you can paste in documentation, and you can give it access to external tools using MCPs, which allow it to get access to these external servers to run code as well. Let's go ahead and check in where we're at with actually generating this new code. It looks like it's getting close to finishing. Um, but here you can see I have my Arize Tracing Assistant MCP, and that's actually how I got my traces and observability logged in. All I had to do was install this tracing assistant, and Cursor can actually create the traces for me and the observability for me in the platform as well. Okay, lastly, it's just creating a README. Hopefully this is done quick. All right, it looks like it's pretty close. So it's creating an environment file. Let's go ahead and see if we can start to get closer to running this. So I've got the trip planner, CD backend. Okay. So it's in summary, I've just implemented an MVP of this code base using the trip planner code base. Great. So it's going to use the same main.py. So let's go ahead and see how to run it. And we're going to ask it again, how should I run this? Oh, it looks like it actually got confused based on the context. This is one of those interesting things. Like it's just referencing the README, and it says, "I noticed the trip planner file, the finance planner files were deleted. Let me help you run the existing trip planner that's still in your workplace." So let's go ahead and try to understand what's going on here. So this is something that's going to happen, right? Like your code is occasionally not going to run the way that you expect it to, and that's all right. We can just basically ask Cursor what happened with my code. So I'm going to go ahead and give it access to this repo and say, what happened to the finance agent? So it's going to do some searching here. It's going to try and find those files. For some reason, it was deleted. It's like, I didn't know where to write those files. That's okay. Let's go ahead and say, create a separate finance planner directory. So basically it said, hey, I actually tried to implement this, but I wasn't able to. Let me go ahead and give you a couple options for how to implement these files. So it's going to go ahead and recreate those files now for me. By the way, if you ever want to go back and replay parts of your conversation, you can do that in Cursor as well. So if you wanted to go back up and re-implement a part of the conversation, you can go ahead and do that as well, just by saying, by going in and clicking at a part of the conversation as well. But I have to let it finish before I can do that. It's generating all of these tokens. I'm wondering if there's a faster way to do this, actually. This is sort of the live demo part where sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And you just need to kind of keep iterating when it breaks. Well, while that's running in the background, let me go ahead and kind of push forward here and recap a little bit about what we've learned so far using Cursor. And a little bit of like why PM should care about Cursor and how to use this workflow. So I like to think about Cursor as a few different agents packaged into one UI. So you've got your tech lead agents that allows you to ask dumb questions without judgment, like, what does this file do? Explain it like I'm a PM. It's not going to be offended by you asking questions, right? You can say, where in the code base is this part of the workflow? And that's really interesting to kind of see like how that code is structured, how the architecture is made. You can ask it to generate a diagram for you. On top of that, you can also ask Cursor to generate documentation, like saying document my user docs or my technical specs. So just like in the same way that it created the README file here, I can actually ask it to write documentation for the end user. If your end user, if you're actually going to write docs for someone to take a look at that, the sort of the workflow on the actual internet in the first place. You've got a debugging partner, which allows you to copy paste errors and get fixes. And then you can, of course, use it to write evals on the fly too. So we didn't show that workflow just yet, but let's go ahead and see if we can get that to run with Cursor too. So it's still generating the code base in the first place, but we can ask it in the meantime on my existing code base, write me evals to make sure that when I push changes to my agent, it doesn't break. So this is a pretty general command. This isn't going to be like a production evaluation workflow, but it does allow you to go ahead and create evaluations for the agent in the first place. So let's go ahead and see how this runs. So it's actually going to go ahead and read the files, read what's going in terms of writing tests. And evals, remember, are just another way to look at tests on your data in the first place. So it's actually going in and deciding what to test in the first place. And we're not going to run this because it's going to take a little bit of time, but it'll actually write unit tests, integration tests, regression tests. And you can even start writing evaluation tests using LLM as a judge or evals for your agent too. So just wanted to kind of show that Cursor allows you to do not just rewriting your code base, but actually writing tests for your code too, all in one place. Okay, looks like we got the finance agent up and running. So let's go ahead and see now that the code is written for it, what we need to do here. So we're going to do the same sort of process that we had before. We're going to go ahead and ask it to run this. So we'll go ahead and copy some of those commands that we ran earlier in here as well. Okay, so we're going to copy this over. Oh, we need to. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this finance agent now. And the changes that we made to it should have copied over based on what we just ran. So we're going to go ahead and run it. So this is, okay, so let's see, we've got to. Okay, we've run that. And now let's go ahead and run the front end of this agent. Okay, so it looks like the agent is finally done being written, the code for the finance agent. So let's go ahead and run it and see how it looks. So we'll go ahead and install the directories, run python main.py, which is the same backend commands. And then in the same sort of in a new terminal, we're going to go ahead and also do the front end side here. Navigate to the front end, run that command. Start. Okay, it looks like the agent is actually finished. And one thing I realized I missed here, and it's important for anyone watching this, is when you go to ask mode, you need to actually switch back to agent mode when you want the agent to actually run, to create files and actually write to your code base. So once I figured that out and I actually let it complete, it's going to go ahead and, okay, so it looks like the agent is done. So now that it's actually written those files, I can run the backend here. So let's go ahead and try that out. We're going to run the same python main.py, go to the front end, do npm install and start. And let's see, npm run. Okay, should be start. Oh, looks like that didn't run, but this seems to be running now. Okay, let's see. It's running the development server. Okay, and this is the AI finance agent. It does look like it's missing a few parts, which is fine. It just means we need to go back and actually edit our code to include those new components. But it's sort of an interesting kind of first pass at trying to recreate the finance planner using the same templates as before. And again, all you have to do is really change from ask mode to agent mode, and it should run just fine. Good to know for the future. Another really common question that we get when we're showing how to use Cursor is how to use Cursor with Lovable Bolt and Replit. And the best part is that those workflows are really powerful for generating UI, like pulling down front end code. And that allows you to vibe code the app. But at the end of the day, if you want more control over the server, that's really where Cursor is going to be helpful. It's going to help you add observability. It's going to help you change specific components or architectural things from that vibe coded application. So I actually think that these two workflows really work well together, both on the Cursor sort of backend vibe coding and changing parts of your architecture, and using Lovable Bolt and Replit to help you create beautiful front ends. So I think these workflows are actually really compatible as you think about going from prototype to production. And a couple of quick takeaways once you kind of get deeper in the weeds using Cursor is that anything is possible with code once you understand the fundamental components. Having the right context is really important. So whether that's adding documentation, adding MCPs, asking Cursor to create PRDs, that's really the context that's going to help you use and leverage it in the most powerful ways. And once you know how to use these tools, you can really start to understand that these agents are really flexible systems to help you interact with and build around LLMs. So it's really worth investing time to set up things and just sort of learn as you go. And by that, I mean, you can now switch out and try to use Claude Code or Gemini CLI. And you're going to be less locked into a specific tool because you know what the power and leverage of using individual tools are in your workflow. So a few next steps for you. Try this out yourself. Just download Cursor, clone any repo. Doesn't have to be the one I just showed. It can be one from your own code base or one you're interested in. And just start asking questions. Ask Cursor Agent to explain what's going on with this repo. How do I use it? How can I improve on it? What are some features I can add on based on your own interests? And with that, I want to say thank you for having me. Appreciate Product School for actually inviting me to speak here. And you can find me on amank.ai or any of the links below. Happy to chat more about your workflows as an AI product manager to see how I can help. Thanks.